Welcome to SMU Stories, the podcast where we dive into the journeys of remarkable alumni from Southern Methodist University who have excelled in the world of business. I'm your host, Mitch Brown, and each episode will uncover the secrets, challenges, and triumphs of this extraordinary individual. From entrepreneurs who've turned dreams into multi-million-dollar enterprises to executives leading global corporations, SMU has nurtured a community of innovators, leaders, and visionaries. Join us as we sit down with the alumni who have walked the same halls, studied in the same classrooms, and emerged as industry pioneers. Get ready for insights, inspiration, and actionable advice as we explore the unique SMU stories that have shaped the business landscape. Whether you're a current student, an aspiring entrepreneur, or simply curious about the power of the SMU network, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's embark on a journey through the compelling narratives of SMU alumni who are making waves in the business world. This is SMU Stories. Let's begin. SMU Stories is brought to you by Security National Bank of Texas, SMU Cox School of Business, Morrison Seeger Venture Capital Partners, and Hilltop Property Tax.
All right, Alexandra, thank you so much again for joining us this morning for the 1911 SMU Stories. Would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, of course. I'm Alexandra Dillard, and I graduated from SMU way back in 2005 with a degree in finance from the Cox School of Business. And I met my husband at SMU, so many of my best friends from SMU. So the school is very special to both of us.
So many great memories. Where are you from originally, Alexandra?
So I get to claim I'm Texan because I was born in Fort Worth, but I was raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is where Dillard is based. And that's where I grew up, and it was a magical upbringing.
So Little Rock to Dallas, I want to talk about the SMU origin story for you. How did you end up at SMU?
So we have a tremendous amount of family members that have been through SMU. My grandfather went to SMU, aunts, cousins. So I am not the first generation of graduates from SMU. So it's just been a very important school to our family for many years. Many dear friends that went there as well. So lots of connections to the school.
Did you enjoy living in Dallas while you were here?
Oh, I loved it. We've been coming to Dallas. It's our biggest trading market. So we've been spending a lot of time in Dallas since I was born. You know, it's a very special place for us. My mom is from a small town, Abilene and Hillsboro, which is right outside of Waco. She moved between the two when she was younger. So we have tremendous amounts of family in Dallas and throughout Texas in general. So it's not an unfamiliar place for us at all.
So do you have any particular memories while you were at SMU? Anything that you remember fondly about your time there?
I mean, there's so many. It's hard to kind of equate the experience into like just a few words, but I would say one of the most meaningful things was being in a sorority, and I was a Pi Phi. It was absolutely phenomenal for me from a social perspective, from a connection perspective, and a leadership perspective. I loved that very, very much. Obviously, the Cox School of Business is just second to none. So everything I did there was incredible. I had some really, really exceptional faculty members that were very near and dear to me while I was there, that were great mentors and helped guide me through my time there and even afterward. But yeah, I think I enjoyed the entire time. I wish I could have stayed there forever.
I know. College is just a dream. You don't even realize it when you're in there, just how wonderful life is. And then,
so great.
So is there any particular classes, anything that you had, any experience at SMU that's helped shape your career to where you are today?
Yeah, so many. So whenever I'm asked this question, there are two very distinct people that stand out in my mind. One was my law and taxation professor, Dr. Kincaid. She was absolutely incredible. She was just such a magnetic professor that really drew everyone in. She was firm and tough, but she really cared about her students and developing them. So I absolutely love her. She was just outstanding. And then I took a class called Business Communications, and I'm failing to remember the name of the professor of that one. But I also found that to be extremely beneficial to my career, and I absolutely loved everything I learned there too.
Remind me, you graduated in 2006, is that right?
2005.
2005. Okay, so 2005 you graduated. What were your next steps after graduation?
So throughout college, I had lots of internships, and I lived all over the place. I lived in New York, and I lived in Greenwich. I lived in Los Angeles, always in the fashion industry. And then I graduated and my dad was like, you need to go learn about manufacturing and sourcing. So I have an identical twin sister. She attended USC, and the two of us were sent over to live in Hong Kong and China and learn about, all the things that go into manufacturing products, sourcing goods, every bit about trim work, fabrics, compliance, kind of you name it. We learned everything about that. So we were over there for several months. And then I came back from Hong Kong and China and moved to Los Angeles and started working for BCBG Max Azria, which at the time was kind of the most important player in what we call the contemporary space. They sort of launched that movement. So I worked directly with Max Azria for many years and loved that. It was just an incredible experience. So was there, I was the head of merchandising for them for what they call the right wing brands, which was pretty much everything that they did outside of the main BCBG Max Azria line that was really sold within their own stores. So I was sent to work with Carrefour in Paris. I was in New York constantly for markets. We sold our brands to everybody from Walmart we had lines for to Dillard's and Nordstrom's and Macy's and a lot of other department stores that no longer exist. So it was an amazing experience. And then I moved on to working for Dillard's in Florida. We have a buying office there. And when Craig, my husband now, but boyfriend at the time that I met at SMU, moved there to the Orlando area for work, I was like, okay, I've got to get a little closer. We can't be doing long distance across the entire country. So that's when I started working for Dillard's officially.
What an incredible journey. So Hong Kong, what was that experience like?
Incredible. We're very blessed. We have a lot of amazing connections there. So my sisters, who, again, both of them went to USC, but my twin is the one that was living with me. There are tremendous amounts of expats that go to USC from Hong Kong. So we had a huge network of friends. We had a great time socially, but then obviously from a work perspective, we were working for the second largest sourcing agent and then one of the biggest factories in the world. And so being able to kind of be fully immersed in that environment and understand the entire steps of manufacturing and everything that goes into finding product and creating product was just incredible. And I will say at the time, I don't think I fully understood or respected all the things I was learning. So much felt like it was completely over my head. And then the second I came back and started taking on a full-time role with BCBG, it really came full circle that so many of the things I saw there, are part of what you do every day in this role. So it was great.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you actually had to see how this stuff, the application of, or the origin, I guess, where all of this stuff will come from down the supply chain. So, okay, so 2005, 2006, what year did you start at Dillard's? Was that 2008?
I would say it was around 2008. Yes.
Okay.
2008.
2008. That's the time of the Great Recession. Tell me about the landscape. What was going on then whenever you joined Dillard's?
I mean, it was very scary. That was such a long time ago. I feel like it was very formative for me back even 10 years ago. That was considered like a very formative time. Now I look back on it as though it was kind of a bump in the road. It was very scary for everyone. Our stock was at an all-time low. People were very fearful of what was going to happen. Everything was suppressed. People were both depressed and suppressed. They had very little disposable income. Trying to convince people to part with that was a challenge. We used the time, which we do during every crisis, to kind of move forward and push the needle a little bit. It happened during COVID as well for us. We used it to kind of reinvent who we are and what we do and look at new brands and new opportunities and create new exclusive product offerings as well that really help set us apart. I've loved that that's kind of the way that we do things, because most people sort of bottle up and sort of go in their little shells and hide. And we've never done that. I think that that's a testament to my father and my uncle that lead our company, that they're very forward thinking in every decision that they make. They really have been such incredible leaders for all of us. And, I hope that they have another 20 years in them. So.
I mean, it's truly incredible. Like Dillard's, I think I told you this before. I'm a big fan of Dillard's. Like I was fangirling whenever I got to, the opportunity to talk to you, because I think it's amazing how many partnerships, collaborations, I remember going to Dillard's and going to get BCBG back at TCU in Fort Worth and it being just the coolest department store with so many incredible and unique things to buy at different price points. Tell me about what your role has been with finding partnerships, collaborations, and the like.
So I oversee a large amount of the merchandise that we sell. My cousin and I both kind of share that responsibility. I oversee women's, juniors, and children's for the vast majority of our 300 plus stores. And, it's a regular general manager role where I'm overseeing the relationships that we have with our existing accounts, but also what's most exciting, what I love most is kind of looking for ways to grow those businesses or looking for new ideas and new businesses. Part of what we do is branded lines, which are sold within the market. But the best part about our company and what I'm most proud of is definitely our exclusive offering. It is far, in my opinion, far beyond the competition. It really sets us apart, and the product is so outstanding and so well made, and it features the very best quality, the best sourcing available in the market. And I'm just so proud of what we create there. To me, having that freedom to imagine and dream of opportunities that don't exist and to do them better, or to find these holes where we can do something that no one's doing, has been the most rewarding and definitely what I love most about my job. We do all sorts of different collaborations. We launch our own brands that we own, and we do them sometimes with partners. And then sometimes we do them on our own. Recently, these influencer collaborations that we've done to help showcase these exclusive brands have really shed a tremendous light on them. And that's been just incredibly rewarding. And, hearing people come up and tell me about what they bought or what they've loved at Dillard's or someone we've worked with that has really inspired them, it is so meaningful, and it really, makes a difference.
Absolutely. I know the Antonio Milani line is top notch. I mean, you go in my closet, it's like, and it's so cool, the wide array, of just different types of style throughout the whole brand. Y'all do a really incredible job.
Thank you. That brand was kind of our first foray into what we call exclusive brands for Dillard's. And the reason we refer to them as exclusive versus private label, traditionally that's the more frequently used term in the industry, is private label. But we call these exclusive because they really are so far superior to the other products that surround them. And most people utilize private label as sort of knockoff, imitation, cheaper versions of other things that they sell. I always make the reference that in a grocery store, you'll see, Cheerios on the top shelf and maybe like a Publix brand or a house brand on the bottom shelf. And it looks and tastes very similar, but the packaging's a little less expensive and it's a little bit more affordable for the consumer. And that's really not our strategy at all with our exclusive brands. We really see them as being the best product on the floor and answering, sort of those holes and those questions of what could be. That's really what we do with them. And so the Antonio Milani brand was actually started by my father and his very dearest friend and our best colleague, Vince Camuto. Vince had owned Nine West with some other partners. And he called my dad the day that his non-compete was up and said, I have this great idea. Let's launch these exclusive brands together. They're going to be, the greatest brands in the market. We're going to use my best resources. They started in footwear. So we utilized Vince's connections with his Brazilian factories that had been his partners for a long time. And they really created and brought to life these incredible personalities through these brands that we launched. They were not only sourced and designed by the best talent in the industry, because Vince was just a legend in his own right. And no one really, I think, could ever compare to him in my eyes. He's just so incredible. But he also, put the best people to work underneath that operation. We hired the best models. We had Adriana Lima and very famous names doing things for us. We had Lauren Hutton, for example, who's considered the world's first supermodel, modeling some of these brands. We had Jill Ben Simone, who's the photographer behind them. So they were extremely well done. And that really kicked off the trajectory of where these brands have gone and what has continued to build into being such an incredible business for us. So we're very, very proud of them.
It really is amazing. I mean, the quality is incredible to see. And I had no idea about the origin story of Vince Camuto. That's fantastic. So tell me, what about, with the emergence of e-commerce and, brick and mortars kind of taking a back seat at a certain point, what have you done at Dillard's that has kind of adapted with the changing landscape with that?
So I will tell you, we are also an anomaly in this respect as well, that Dillard's, the vast majority of our business is still driven by brick and mortar. That's certainly where our focus is and what we care most about. That's not to say we don't care about being a leader in the internet space, but that is a little bit of the Wild West right now. And, there are a lot of people doing a lot of things to seize the market share there that we have been careful and cognizant not to do things that we can't give to the consumer long term. Just to gain our business in the short term is not our strategy. We want to keep her satisfied and happy in the long run. So the way we really view our internet business, which is very successful and growing like everyone's is it's an omni-channel for us. Our consumer will walk in the store one day and then get online in bed and shop for some other things. Sometimes she chooses to pick up in stores and sometimes she chooses to have it shipped to her house. So I think that's really the thing that's most unique about this emergence of technology and internet is that it allows the consumer to shop in any way that makes sense to her in that moment. And that's been very beautiful and I think very helpful. Even for me, I'm working in the store right now. I'm in one of our Atlanta stores, but I may get in my bed and order some things for my kids tonight. I may not even have time to go shop on the floor. It sounds crazy, but people just, need that fluidity and the options available to them in order to stay satisfied. So, I do think that our approach in terms of our focus on brick and mortar is just still a unique aspect within the industry.
Tell me, you have 2 children at home, 6 and 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
How has it been with, the work-life balance, being a working mom, but also, kind of having to balance between both worlds on a day-to-day?
I mean, it's definitely difficult, but I grew up in a family of hustlers and it taught me to grind. And we grew up next door to my grandparents. So every single night after my dad got home from work, we would walk next door. And, this is just who we are and what we do. Our work is a part of our lives all the time. And my children are being exposed to the conversations that I have and I had with my grandparents and saw my father having with my grandparents. So for me, it's just part of our lives. We incorporate them into that. I'll bring my daughter to markets the same way that my dad brought me to market appointments. When we're lucky, when they're not in school, if I have the opportunity to have them travel with us or see what we're doing, I love that. They've certainly been on store visits with us as well. So for me, the work-life balance is all muddled together. I do travel pretty much every single week for work. So there's a lot of times where I'm away and, I experience that as well with my father. And I wouldn't say that it in any way made me feel less attached to him in any way, or it didn't distract me from the goals that I wanted to achieve for myself, even as a child in the sports that we did or anything like that. But I think it's what you make of it. And it's the attitude that you have. Some people work-life balance means literally shutting off for a couple days a week, several weeks out of the year, and being able to completely focus on your family and your kids. For me, it's really incorporating them into that life and certainly taking moments to focus on them. This morning, I had to go celebrate my daughter's birthday at school. So we try to be there for the important moments that are special, but they also recognize and realize that this hard work supports the lifestyle that we have and our family, and it's very important to us, and they know that. So our approach is a little different than some.
Well, what a great role model you are, just like your family was to you, of seeing how to make it work and that you can make it work. At what point in your life did you realize, okay, did it click? This is my career. This is what my career is going to be. This is the right path for me.
Just by virtue of, by the way, I haven't mentioned this, but my mother was a buyer for Neiman Marcus for like 15 years when she met my father. So retail and fashion are really all that I've ever been exposed to. So I always knew I wanted to do something in that space and that I wanted to incorporate finance, business, numbers into that, because that's kind of a very fortunate trait that has been passed down in the Dillard family. We love numbers. So I always knew it was going to be something in that realm. I didn't know I was going to work for Dillard's. I wasn't sure that was going to be my path, but I always knew that I loved the balance of creativity and finance, and that was something that was very exciting for me. I've always loved strategy and problem solving. And so, for me, it was never a question that I was going to join this industry in some capacity, whether that was going to be working with vendors or creating my own brands or whatever that was going to be. I knew I was going to end up in this space. I think coming to work for Dillard really just happened because my boyfriend, again at the time, who's now my husband, got this job in Florida. And I was like, okay, I can work for Dillard's in our buying office in Florida. And that's really how it got started. And, I think everybody to some degree thinks that working for their family feels less exciting than working elsewhere because, you know your family and it feels sort of homogenous in a way. But I didn't know till I got into Dillard's just the impact and changes that I could make myself and the rewarding feeling that gives you to see a difference in kind of what you contribute. And I am so lucky and so blessed that within our company, my dad, my uncle, they're very, very supportive of any ideas that we've ever had. So we've never been restricted. We also have a very lean management structure. So it's not like you have to get a tremendous amount of approval on every initiative you want to dream up. We have the ability to move quickly. So I think that's really great. And we pivot really quickly too. So, if something's not working, we move in a different direction immediately. We don't have to, take years to kind of make those changes. And that's been wonderful. So I would say long-winded answer, but I think when I moved to Florida was really the moment I started working for Dillard's. It just happened by chance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, and what a unique and cool opportunity to be with family, to be, so your twin sister, she's also with Dillard's. What's her?
Yeah. I was on the phone with her all morning. So Anne-Marie is in charge of all of our information technology. She is, in essence, our CIO. She oversees our website and the consumer interfacing portion of that as well. So she does a lot of things that I can't even tell you about because there's so many acronyms involved that it goes above my head.
Yeah.
But she's still very involved as well in the product. And, she has an amazing eye. So she's very vocal about trends that she's seeing and observations that she has of things that we need to do to shift in more modern directions. So we are very collaborative. I probably talk to her 4 or 5 times a day.
Wow, that's so wonderful. So speaking forward thinking, is there anything on the horizon that you're particularly excited about?
I mean, to be honest, sometimes I get overwhelmed. We have so many new initiatives every year. We just did a large seminar with all of our stores talking through all the different highlights that we have. And there's like 100 different new brands coming into the store, intensifications of existing brands, new categories that we're adding to existing brands, store rollouts of great selling products. So there's so much. It's hard to point out just one thing. I would say because it's top of mind, and tomorrow I'm going to a place that inspired a new sort of destination within our store. I'm excited about a shop we created called the Coterie Shop, which is where we highlight young talent. I say young in the sense that it hasn't been in existence very long. They don't have to be young designers, but they are all very talented individuals that haven't yet reached saturation in the market. Most of them have never sold to any department store, and several of them have never wholesaled their line whatsoever. So we're their first partner to ever embark on that. For us, it's been really meaningful to get new, exciting products in our stores. But for them, we've acted as an incubator for helping them develop, understand how to work with a major account. We've been very careful with them. We've really nurtured them through the process, taught them about payment terms, shipping, polybagging, hangers, even sourcing. So that's also been rewarding to help see brands grow. Especially new talent, which is hard to find in our industry sometimes. So I love that. And I'm going to I would call it, it's kind of like a 3-day getaway with some of these great talents. And it's always a wonderful networking moment. The group is called the Southern Sea. So we were inspired by them. Southern Sea means Southern Coterie. So we named our shop the Coterie Shop, kind of after this moment of being captivated by what they were doing and bringing to the table. It's all about cultivating relationships and networking and, again, discovering new talents and creativity. So that kind of thing is always very inspiring.
So how do you keep your finger on the pulse of, new trends, new designers? Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, being connected at all times. I think I have 10 meetings today alone with different people, talking to people, getting out there, staying connected, taking phone calls from just about anyone that wants to chat, even if it's 15 minutes. It's amazing how much you can learn when you get out there. But also, I work really hard to keep my team full of great, exciting young gals that keep me on my toes and introduce me to all new trends that are happening, whether that's some new social media platform or, a trend that's happening. We have a great team, not only of assistant buyers, but also campus ambassadors that are scattered throughout, several different campuses. I think we're up to maybe, I want to say 40. So they are also phenomenal too about keeping us dialed in and letting us know consumers shift their habits and their affinities constantly. So I think, trying to stay dialed in is a full-time job in of itself, but the more connections you have, the easier it is to do.
Absolutely. I think social media has changed how we view fashion, how we view trends, all this. I mean, it feels like every time I get on, I'm like, oh, that what I just thought was probably, not cool anymore. But I guess also, in your 30s, it's a little more difficult to to keep up with it. Do you have any advice for, maybe someone who's listening who's currently at SMU or just graduated at SMU that wants to get involved in fashion merchandising or just, the industry in general? Do you have anything that you'd like to impart with them?
I would say the very first thing is make sure you're getting a lot of internships and taking on even working experiences while you're in school. I think that's the best way to know if an industry is right for you, is to kind of get in it early and experience it in any way you can. And then also connecting with graduates, with faculty, with people through SMU. SMU has got to be one of the most incredibly well-connected universities on the planet. Even for me, as I've gotten older, the connections just span more and more generations. And I'm amazed by the people that we know, the friends that we have, the relationships that we've cultivated through the school. It really is so special. And I think when you're on campus, you may not fully recognize that or understand it. But as you get older, you really see it come full circle. I mean, I think all roads somehow lead back to SMU. And what's happening on campus is it's so exciting. So you have all of these great exposure points at your fingertips while you're on campus. I think making the most of those and really kind of utilizing every avenue available to you to meet people, to know people, it will just come back to you in so many ways. It's so rewarding. And I've seen that happen, friends that I knew from school that I've lost contact with, then have come back into my life in some way or capacity, whether it's personal or professional, has been really incredible. So I think really maximizing the connections that you can make while you're on campus is huge. And again, the alumni base alone at SMU is tremendous, and they're very, very willing to help. I think it's very special and hard to find. People prioritize meeting alumni and students at the school. They love that. So I think maximizing those connections while you're on campus is huge.
And, this particularly rings true with you, Alexandra, by, coming and speaking at our luncheon a couple weeks ago. The feedback was amazing. Everyone really appreciated the insight that you had to share with them. So I totally agree. I think SMU is just a fantastic, really very special place. Alexandra, I think this is the end of this, but I want to thank you again for spending your morning with us, for sharing your story. And I can't wait to have you back on at a later time and learn a little bit more about what's coming in the future for Dillard's and with your career.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate what you and your husband are doing for our school. This club is so incredible and it's much needed. And I love that you're helping to build those connections that I've mentioned so many times today and help foster an even stronger community for our incredible alma mater. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alexandra.